why we have so much demand for MSBI
Mm-hmm.
is that the licensing cost, right? So when it comes to business, the companies will always look for, how much how much cost it is involved and all those things, right? So if you take smaller companies or medium-sized companies, so they will not have that much budget to invest in these software tools, right? So, but they have to run their business, and also they are in a need to generate reports and process their business data,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to get some advantage of these technologies, right? So that's why what happens is when they go out in the market for searching their suitable products, so there are many products available in the market, but out of which this MSBI is is budget friendly and also user friendly. So that's why. So if you are taking some other tools, so they have to invest a lot on the licensing, and licensing cost will go up, and they it won't suits their business, and because of mainly the budgeting and all those things. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why smaller and medium-sized companies, so they are more into this using these MSPA tools compared to other tools.
Okay.
So if you take 100 companies, 7 to 80 companies are going with MSBI, so maybe 10, 20 companies are going with other tools. Okay, so that is why there is huge demand in the market. So you might see in US, right, there is a lot of job opportunities for
Yeah.
MSBI developers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there is a great demand, and one more reason for that is, as you know, data is ever growing, right? So if you take
Yeah.
any business, we get data, and yeah, nowadays in this digital era, so
Mm-hmm.
we get more data. Data is growing at a exponential speed.
Yeah. Vast level.
So yeah. So whatever we do on a daily basis, like even you are browsing or even you are using your mobile device, so everything could get logged and that could get processed, right? So that is like even each tap what we are doing on the mobile device, even that could be recorded, and that can be processed for usage analysis, or user how user is using the device, and there are a lot of analytics around each and every device, the digital device, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of a huge data if we are getting, so we need to use that data and produce some useful reports, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's where these tools are getting more focus. Eh? So there are many tools available, but because as I told you, because of mainly budget and other constraints, will make companies to use uh, MSPI and all these tools. And also one of the advantages is that if you purchase SQL Server, so the other tools like SSIS, SSIS, and SSRS, so all these three tools are free to use. You don't have to pay extra licensing cost or anything like that.
The company package.
Yeah, it's a package, correct, exactly. So it's along with the SQL Server, you get this as a package.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you take other technologies, like if you let's say someone is going for Oracle, so they have to pay Oracle database license, and if they want to go for ETL, so for doing ETL to export, import data and process data, so they again have to go for some ETL tool. Again, that's again on top of it, you have to again pay licensing cost. After that, like even Informatica, it is only a ETL tool, right? So you won't get any reporting tool. So again, you have to go for a reporting tool. Again, that's a licensing cost, like maybe Tableau, Crystal reports. There are many reporting tools available, right? So again, that's a another licensing cost. And on top of it, like if you want to do some kind of um, data mining, or you want to do deep analytics of your data,
Mhm.
or more analysis on your data, so which is not uh, possible using SSRS, reporting tools. So then you have to go for data warehousing tools, which is again a extra cost, and licensing will add to that, right? So these are the these are all the reasons why we have a lot of companies using MSBI, or Microsoft Business Intelligence, and that's where we have great demand. Like when more companies start using these tools, so definitely they need developers to develop and test, and also do operations on a daily basis. They will have to manage all the tools, and whatever the applications, or whatever the um, softwares they have developed. So again, operations comes into picture, right? So that is business as usual, so BAU activities, right? So those are all the reasons why we have a great demand for MSPI developers. Okay, so just wanted to give you some background around this, so that you can understand what's happening in the market,
Mhm.
and why we have so much demand for all these tools. Okay, and also for all these skill sets. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so coming to MSBI,
Mhm.
so right, what are all the tools we have in MSBI?
Yes, sir. Integration services, analysis services, and reporting services. I have installed also.
Oh, that's great actually. So you have already installed all the tools. It's all,
Yeah.
so you have installed and waiting for this to start your practice session, right?
Yeah. And I
Yep.
installed Visual Studio also.
Mm-hmm. So have you created any exercise packages?
I mean, I saw some, a little bit of the YouTube videos, what I know the basics of which I understand. I try to create it, but I get always errors always.
That's always challenging actually. So the thing is, even YouTube, you can go through that, but the problem is, so we will not have those.
Why? What I want is, I want that for the practice I get some situation or some data, or someone told me that extract these things, or you have to do this, for the practice
Mhm,
to give
mhm,
me some problems and troubles so I can try to do by myself.
mhm,
But yeah, that's the thing. I don't have any, question or problems to solve, so I don't know how to do it.
mhm.
So yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a challenge actually. See, the thing is, so we get a lot of other places where we can find documents and all. So, but actually, when we go through that, and when we actually uh, build ourselves all these whatever SSS packages, so when we come across these errors, so that's a kind of blockers where we cannot get across these things, and until unless we fix that, so we cannot go beyond that, right? So that's where
Yes.
we spend a lot of time resolving that, and so but like as we have this Google, and a lot of communities are available, so where nowadays uh, you know uh, it's not that much hard to find a solution. Like even if you come across any errors, so you can
Yes.
just put that error directly, whatever you are getting in Google, so you will get some kind of solution. Okay. So but that takes time, so you have to go through multiple sites.
Solution comes up sometime, but um, maybe I don't know what it is, so that's
Mhm.
why it's hard to understand sometimes. Hard to understand what it is, and that's that's the thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. That's actually a challenge. So the thing is, so we will not have the kind of errors which we get in SSIS and all. So first time we are seeing those errors, right? So we don't know what
That's
exactly it
why
is
I
talking
want
about.
to learn in details and what the how we use the type conversions, how we use the um, those what they call expressions, how to
Mhm.
use the expressions, and in detail.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, sure. We'll go through all those things. Okay, so don't worry. So we'll go through in detail. And so we may not be covering. So we could be finishing all this maybe by so maybe by 3 4 weeks. Okay, so maximum. Okay.
Three,
So
four,
are you available on weekends?
for the whole MSPI
Yeah, whole MSBI.
in 4 weeks only.
Yeah. So I think we could finish. Okay. So anyway, so let's see how it goes. So are you available on weekends?
Yeah, I am. I'll be.
Okay.
But the time should be, the same. I can change the time for the weekends.
Okay. Uh, I just wanted to. I was just thinking, like, if we can get some weekends, so maybe we can spend more time,
Okay.
and we can finish it off.
Um. So, are you available in morning on weekends?
Morning Indian time. So I'm in India.
Yes, sir. Indian time.
Yeah, Indian time morning. I will be available.
On weekends.
Yeah, weekends. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. At that time, we can spend like, if you say more time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that we'll see. Okay, so anyway, so weekdays we'll go through every day. Okay, so if at all we have
But for
time in
weekdays, yeah. So what time you? I mean, if we want to adjust the time, what time you work? Um.
so I reach home by 6 or 7. So after that we can start.
Okay.
So what is the time there?
It's 8:36 in the morning.
8:36 in the morning. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
So
So
it's
it's the
8:36
afternoon, right?
here, so you have might be 9 o'clock or
Yeah,
nine.
exactly. It's
9:10.
9. Yeah, yeah, right. So it's 9.
If we, I mean, if you want to take some time, or we can start at 9 also, like
Mm-hmm.
from 9 to 10 or 9 to 10:30.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So your time, right? So your time 9 to 10:30.
No, 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 yours, no, yours
My
time.
time.
Mine will be 8:30 to
Oh.
9:30.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Fine. Yeah. That's so you so morning, like what is the time slot which which you can get?
I'll be available up before 10. I'll because after 10 and I have to leave also. I also have some part-time job to
Uh-huh.
do. So I have
Okay.
to leave by 10:15. So
Okay.
I can manage before that. That's why I told the analyst that I mean,
This
This conference will now be recorded.
I think some switch is there. Okay. Okay. So okay. Anyway.
so what's the certification for MSPI, sir? I don't know. MSCSC? MCSC?
It's MCSA. I think there is a code. It's 47062 or 7472. I forgot that code actually. So let me check in. So
But it's the
ALS.
same. It's MCSC and then some code, right? It's M
Yeah, yeah,
from.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's
Is it
actually
easy or is it tough?
uh, like when you know the topic and when you have some kind of experience, or if you have practiced this very much, so then it's not tough. But
Mhm.
if you're new and and you have not worked, or if you have not practiced much, so then it's difficult. So I think, but it's again, options will be there. Like you will have one question and it's all uh, you know
Mm-hmm.
options. Like one question, like you will have four answers. So you just have to tick one of them, and it will be of 1 hour or 2 hours, I think, 2 hours, and you just have to, so it's also in some of them are scenario based, and some of them to test whether you know anything in the tool. So by checking, like this is what happened and whether it's true or false, or if this happens, what you're going to do. So it's
Are you
some are
in
even,
Hyderabad, sir? Are you in Hyderabad?
no, I'm in Bangalore.
Bangalore.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all, uh, options based, so we can easily, clear that. So, but we need to practice and we need to read these, documents and also that, we could able to uh, complete that one.
And there's
So
some,
it
I
helps.
think, what they call dummy or
Dumps, yeah, dumps,
yeah.
exam dumps, yeah, that also you can get. But like that will help a little bit. I mean, you can't just rely on only those dumps,
Mm-hmm.
and you can, you can't go for exams. So you can go, but like we can't completely rely on dumps, because dumps is only, some questions, like it's based on historical questions what we have and what questions have come and all. But there is a lot of chances, like out of those dumps, so you may get only 30 or 40% of the questions. So not all of the questions what we say there.
Okay.
Right. So, but that will help. I'm not saying dumps will not be helpful. So you can get it, and it will help a little bit. But if you have practiced, like that will give you a good confidence, and it's easy to clear. Yeah, but definitely it's all combination of dumps and also the practice what we make and what we read through all those things. Okay.
So you teach Power BI also?
Yeah, Power BI also I have some experience, like like I have more experience into SQL Server and MSBI.
Okay.
Like comparatively, I have less experience in Power BI, but I have, like I teach a Power BI as well.
Okay. All right. Okay,
All
so we'll
right.
start
So,
from tomorrow or today
sorry, say again.
for the MSPA.
Yeah, the
Like,
MSP we are starting today. Okay, so today we'll give you some brief introduction about architecture and all. And from tomorrow onwards, we'll go through the tool and we'll see what we can do within MSPI. Okay.
okay.
All right. So just give me a moment. I'll share my screen. Okay. So I hope you can able to see my screen.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. So what we'll do, so we will go through, so as you know, like we have three modules, right? So SSIS, SSRS, and SSIS, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is, so we will go through one module. Okay, so first we will start with SSIS, and then we will move on to SSRS, and then we'll go to SSIS. Okay. So in between, like if we have any new people joining, so we will be asking them to join. So by like when we start new module like SSRS, so that time we may have new people who will be joining us. Okay. So in between, like if we have some more people joining, maybe in next 2 3 days, so we will add them. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so we'll start with SSIS first, and then we'll move on to SSRS and SSAs. Okay. Um, so you already have some idea about SSIS, right?
Yes.
So why we have SSIS? So it's mainly a ETL tool, right? So ETL stands for extract, transform, load,
Both.
right? Um, so you can have any operational sources. Okay, so it could be CSV file, it could be Excel, right? And it could be a database, SQL Server database. It could be Oracle database. So it could have any kind of operational sources. So when I say operational sources, so what comes into your mind when I say operational sources?
Operational sources like um sources like yeah, the SQL, Excel, CSV files.
Mm-hmm.
The other companies,
Sorry, say again?
other companies or what?
Yeah, yeah. So just when I say operational sources, what comes into in your mind? Like what kind of systems or yeah. So these are all the things which we can have, right? So as operational source. So operational source is basically where you can have data. Okay. So coming from it can be coming from any source. Okay. So maybe so like if you take any example, so um, so let's say you have some manufacturing company and you're you're manufacturing the product and you're selling through multiple resellers throughout the country. Okay. So now resellers will send you their sales data, right? So how much sales has been done today and all those things, right?
Right.
So so what they send, all those are operational source. Like those are all the operational data, like how much sales has been done and all those things. Like so that is one that could be one operational source, and another could be like so you are already doing some sales through online channel. Okay, so where you already have some application and that application is writing data into a database, and that database is storing all the sales information like how much what is sold today and how much sales has been happened and all those things. So that could be again a SQL Server database or Oracle or any other database. Okay, so it's all writing into a database. So that is again a operational source. Okay, so operational source can be anything which is basically which is having some information about the business. Okay,
Mm.
so what we are going to do is so this data. Okay, so and why do we so first of all, why do we need SSIS?
Uh, we need SSIS to integrate the data
Yeah, but why do we need integration?
because the source files are different and they are in different forms. SQL, Excel, or CSV, or maybe any other form, and we need to combine them to one
Mm-hmm.
place.
Mm-hmm.
We need to merge them at one place.
Yeah, that's correct. So we need to merge them, but what is the need of merging them to a single place so we can keep in the same format?
Because after merging, it will be easy to analyze.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be able to see the exact position of the business, the
Mm.
how they're growing or not growing, and how they're getting profit or not getting any profit, or to analyze the situation.
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically we want to see how my business is doing, right? So whether I'm making good profit or I'm making loss or or how much sales I have done, and based on that, what is the sales I have done for last week or last month. So based on that, so I can also think, what would be my sales next month or tomorrow or next week, right? So that will give me some idea or some understanding about my business, right? So maybe I can be informed on all those activities what is happening, right?
Right.
So to get this kind of information or report, so we need to have data in a single place, right? So if the data is scattered in many places like CSV, Excel, or different databases,
Mm-hmm.
so it's really difficult to produce a useful report, right? So, or we need to ask someone to merge all this data, so which is a tedious job and also time consuming work. So we need a lot of people to do that, and it takes time. So by the time we arrive at some numbers, like saying this was the sales happened, so that will take 2 or 3 weeks. So then my business is already running after you know leading 3 weeks ahead, right? So my
Mm-hmm.
report is coming uh, lagging 3 weeks, so which is not helpful, right? So nowadays we need to have a kind of real time report where I can take immediate decisions on my business,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So for these reasons, so we take these um, different files
Yeah.
and we load that to a data warehouse, and in between, so we have a process called ETL. Okay, so extract, transform, load. So this process is done through SSIS. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we also have other tools in the market, as I said you earlier. So in MSBI, so this is the tool which will help us to do ETL.
Okay.
Okay, so we take this data and load this to a data warehouse. So what is data warehouse?
It's storage for data. Like.
Hmm. Yeah. So data warehouse is like just a warehouse of data, right? So you can have any data and store it in in the warehouse,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we take this data and load this into a large data warehouse. Okay, so these are all operational sources where it will have small in size. Okay, so these are all small. It may be even SQL Server or Oracle. So these are all small data sets or databases. Okay, so we what we do is, so we take all these databases or data sets and load this into a data warehouse, so that where I can have all this data available in a single place. Okay, so we process this through ETL. So ETL, we in ETL, so we do a lot of things like merging of different columns, concatenation, replacement. So you may have to replace with some country with some ID and all those things, right? So you can do a lot of stuff in ETL, so that we can get all this data which are in different format and different attributes and columns are used, so we can get all of them in a single standardized format. Okay, so in target data warehouse, so we will have some tables. Okay, so maybe and a lot of tables which are having some foreign key relations and all. So we load all this data to match this format. Okay, so we might be having customer table, we might be having sales table, we might be having products table. So we standardize all this data, whatever we are getting from different sources, and load them into these tables what we have in the data warehouse. Okay, so it's basically we are standardizing and we are cleaning the data, we are deduplicating the data. So if you have duplicate values and all,
Mm-hmm.
so we will just eliminate in ETL. Okay, So we do clean up, we apply business rules, and also we may have some business rules saying, if we have any data which is having sales amount of zero, so that should be considered as invalid, or even if the sales amount which is uh, zero point 0.5 or 0.15, something like that, so that should be ignored, or we should not be considered that kind of a transaction. Okay, so we may have different business rules, so even we can apply those business rules to you know to make a record valid, invalid, or delete, cleaning up. So everything will be managed by business rules. Okay, so these business rules are converted to a mm, ETL code, so where we can use expressions, and we can use constraints, expressions, and lot of and even you can use some kind of scripting within SSIS, and we can convert these data sets into a data warehouse. Okay, so in this data warehouse is a big, so it's basically large in size. Okay, so one of the key properties, mostly it will be large in size because we are loading all data from different sources into data warehouse. Okay, and even one of the other property of data warehouse is, so we keep all historical changes. So if at all, if a customer is changing his address from New York to uh, California or somewhere, so we will keep all his history. So if he is moving from one state to another, so every 3 months or every month, so all histories are maintained, so that like if at all we have any reporting requirement, how my sales has happened over customers by area, or like if a customer is by changing his area, like whether he is purchasing more or he is purchasing less. So if you want to do some that kind of analytics, so we need to have all these historical changes maintained, right? So then only we can go back and check, like how much how much purchases he has done in New York, and how much purchases he is doing in California, and all those things, right? So we could able to correlate that, and we can analyze, since he moved from this place to that place, his trend of purchase has been changed like this. Okay, so it may increase, it may have increased or decreased. Okay, so if you want to do that kind of analytics, so we need to have all the historical data maintained, historical changes maintained. Okay, so all that is also maintained in data warehouse. Okay, so once we have the data available in data warehouse, so we can use a report server to generate reports. Okay, so we can connect to this database and generate the reports whatever we are looking for. So as you know, we wanted to understand how the sales are happening here, or yeah, trend, basically, like how are my sales last week, last month, and other stuff. So I can just generate reports using SSRS. So this is where SSRS comes in. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So even there are some scenarios where if you have a operational source, okay, and if it is maintained in SQL or Oracle, okay, so even you can use SSRS to generate reports. Okay, so even this also you can report from directly from here. Okay, so let's say I have a business which is online sales, and I'm storing all my data into a SQL Server database. So now if I want to generate some reports like what is the sales happen, so I can, since the data is already available in the SQL Server database, so I can generate reports, right? So that is what we are ultimately doing here, right? Right. So
Yes,
since
the
we have,
In the data, we can generate the reports.
Say again, sorry.
Without loading the data, we can generate the reports.
Yeah, so when I say operational database, so even the operational sources itself is a SQL Server database, right?
Oh,
So then I can generate reports. Getting?
okay.
Are you able to understand this?
Yes, sir. Even without the data warehouse,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes, correct.
we
Without the data warehouse, even if you have just a database, so
can.
even from there as well, we can generate reports.
Okay.
Okay. So again, one more thing like SSIS, SSRS, okay, and SSIS, right? So I'll just write it here. So yes, okay. So out of these three tools, again, if you check in the real world, uh, this is very less used. Okay, so maybe out of 100 companies, maybe 10 companies are using this. Okay, so this one we may have out of 100 companies who are using MSBI. Okay, I'm only talking about MSBI. So MSBI, so out of 100 companies, like 100 companies, let's say 100 companies using MSBI. So out of them, 10 companies, only 10 may be using SSAS. Okay,
Okay.
maybe SQL Server. Anyway, everybody will be using. Out of 100, so they are all using SQL. Okay, SQL Server as database backend.
Mm-hmm.
So SSRS could be used by 80 to 90. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and SSIS may be 60 to 70. I mean, like there may be a overlap here. Okay, so 60 to 70 companies who might be using both, and 10 to 20 companies they might be using only SSRS or something, or 80 to 90 companies they might be using both. Okay, so the ratio is like if at all they are using SQL Server, uh, the chances of they are using SSAS is very less. Okay, unless they are a very big company and they have a huge amount of data,
Mm-hmm.
they may not be going with SS. They might not be using SSIS, SSAs. Okay, so because their business does not demand them to use SSAs. Okay, so any idea why SSAs is not required?
Mm, mm, AS is not required. Uh, no idea.
Okay, so as you know, this is as the name suggests, right? So it's analysis service, right? So if you have a huge amount of data and you want to do a lot of analysis on your data, okay, so it's not about just reporting. Okay, so you have data and you are using SSRS and you can generate graphical reports like bar graph and all. These things are not analysis. Okay, so it's only reporting.
Mm.
Okay, so when I say analysis, so it's more into um, you have a lot of demand for analyzing your data. Okay, so let's say for example, so you have sales, right? So you want to analyze your sales by customer, reseller, mm, sales by geography, sales by time, sales by salesperson, sales by time of the day, sales by whether it's week by day of the week. I mean, like I want to understand like whether my sales is more on Monday, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's a question which I want to dig my data and find out my answer, right? So that's kind of a question if we have. So that needs a lot of analytics to be done on the data. So these reports, whatever we have, that will not tell us whether my sales are happening, whether I'm selling more on Monday. Okay, so this is only some sales report. So like daily sales or weekly sales, it's all about, or monthly sales, right? So this will not tell me
Mm-hmm.
those kind of questions, answers to my those questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I could also be having a question saying whether if I can sell um, mobile with a laptop. Okay, so this is like it's kind of like what if I can right? So you might have seen combo packs and all that. You buy this, you get this free.
Mm-hmm.
So whether like which is the best product to sell with this product, so that people can buy these things. Okay, so those kind of analytics we cannot do on the operational database and also using just SSRS. Okay, so if you want to do that kind of a analytics, so we need to go for analysis service.
Okay.
Okay, so this will, this is having lot of other capabilities, right? Like you can aggregate, like if you are running any reports, sales by month, sales by customer, sales by month, customer, quarter, reseller. So these are all very complex reports, right? So you have to group by all these items to get your report. So if we have huge amount of data here, okay, so let's say in your operational data source, so you have some 100 million records, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
then what happens? Your reports will take 3 to 4 minutes to generate your report. So if you have any complex report, which I said, sales by customer, reseller, by month, by many things, okay, by geography and all those things. So you want to understand like all these how my sales are happening. So if you are running that kind of a complex report, so it will take 4 to 5 minutes to generate reports when you have 400 millions of records. So but do you have think anybody will wait for 4 5 minutes to just to get a report,
Mm-hmm. No.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
nowadays we don't have any patience, right? So we don't wait, and if at all we have that kind of a time consuming process, so we just say goodbye to that, and we will think of some other solution, right? So that's why, so if at all we have that much of data, so will go with SSIS. Okay. So even like we have some other alternatives, like to reduce that time taking queries, to reduce that performance
Mm-hmm.
latency. So there are some alternatives in SQL Server database. So we use some indexing and all. Have you heard of indexing?
Mm,
Index,
yeah,
database index.
uh, in CMN in databases? No. What?
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, you know the term index, what indexing is, but
Uh-huh.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So same concept, like as you are saying, index, right? So indexing. So
Mm-hmm.
same concept is used
Is
in
it like
database.
pointing some? It's indexing means
Exactly.
pointing
Exactly.
somewhere else, right?
Exactly. So if you take any book, so you will have a index page. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to jump to directly to a eighth chapter, so you
Mm-hmm.
will just see what is the page number. You will go directly. So instead of searching for chapter 8 page by page, what you're doing is so you're directly jumping there, looking at the page number, right? So same
Right.
concept we have in SQL Server database and all. Like you take any RDBMS, relational database management system. So that concept is there.
Okay.
Okay. So we can make use of that concept, and that will reduce this time taking to generate this kind of complex report to some extent. but that will not reduce, that will not help 100%. Okay. Uh, the reason is, so up to maybe 1 million or 2 million records, that can help. But if you have 100 million or 2 million records, even indexing will not help. Okay. So in those scenarios, people have to go for some other alternatives. So that alternative is SSIS. Okay.
Okay.
So once we have data here
Mm-hmm.
in my data warehouse, so I can generate reports. Okay, so connecting my SSRS tools to this database, or I can also go for analysis service database mining, data mining. So I can take this data and start doing data mining. Okay, so in the analysis service, or I can also use this as a multi-dimensional data cube. Okay, so it's also called, so you can see here there is a cube icon here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a cube, right?
So
So we build a
data mining, is it different than this multidimensional data?
yeah, I think a little bit different, but both uses SSIS. Okay, so here this is
Mm-hmm.
also, here also we use SSIS. Here also we use SSIS. Okay, so I think both are same, but only this is used for reporting,
Okay.
and we build data models. Okay, so I mean mining models we build here. So that is again on top of the SSAS only. So we use SSAS to build a cube, and on top of it, so we can build these mining models to mine the data.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean like uh, it's basically using this data source. So
Mm-hmm.
we can data mine, or we can just build a cube
Mm-hmm.
for generating reports. Like from here again, I can generate reports.
Okay.
Okay, so I can connect to this. So this is a different database. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is not same as this operational database. Okay, so this is this is also called as OLTP,
Yeah.
operational databases, and this is called OLAP. Have you heard of this?
Yes, I mean I have heard these terms in
Okay,
the videos.
yeah, exactly. So this
But
is OLTP.
it's a transactional data, and it's OLAP is a
Unless,
historical data. Yeah.
yeah, analysis OLAP stands for online analysis processing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is having a different structure. Okay, so database structure is not same in this and this. Okay, so SQL Server database is SQL Server. Within SQL Server, so we have two formats. So one is the one which is we use for operational database. So that is um, OLTP, and
Mm-hmm.
another one is OLAP.
Okay.
Okay, and here we use SQL statements to query data from the database, whereas here we use MDX. Okay, so MDX stands for multi-dimensional expressions.
Multi-dimensional expression.
Yeah, multi-dimensional expressions. So this is not same as the select statement which we write in SQL. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is completely a different set of keywords we have, and also the structure is completely different. Okay, so you will understand more on this. So when we go to SSAs.
Okay, so I have a question here. So are we covering like
For 1 day before, so that